My contribution is to keep in mind that for every action, there's a reaction. I had a conversation with one of our meteorologists, Tony Payne. I'm a weather geek, for those of you who don't know it. And a couple of years ago, we had an extremely mild summer. I mean, it was literally like, it was 2 weeks of like, literally like in the 50s and 60s. I mean, incredibly mild. And as I was sitting at my desk, Tony Payne walked by and I said, Tony, what's going on? Why are we getting so? And he said, Jerome, there is a hurricane in China right now that is impacting our weather. So it's blocking all of the bad weather that's coming our way because it's the hurricane, it's fueling what's going on in the planet. And what I say to that, to you in terms of social media is keep in mind that you may be getting a lot of likes and retweets and all this other kind of stuff, and you may think that you're getting a lot of praise for something that you post, not realizing that you've created a hurricane somewhere else. So just keep that in mind when you're posting stuff. Think about what you're posting, how it's going to impact somebody else. I took the necessary steps to get where I am now. It took me a long time to get here, but my point is that you have to be able to know those perspectives. When I say the name Jerry Turner, not a lot of people know who Jerry Turner is. When I say the name Al Sanders, not a lot of people know who Al Sanders, is. And so you can speak from authority when you know what you're talking about, and you can say it in a way that people will respect what you have to say and will act on what you have to say.
You have to be willing to be flexible and know the art of negotiation. We can't get angry when we get our way. You know why? Because that's the expectation.
Right.
It's the expectation for us to be angry, and when we exude that, that's exactly what the expectation is, and you'll be labeled as that. So the angry black man, angry black woman, again, like I told you, I went through most of my adult career in executive positions and being the only minority in the room and having conversations, and I've grown. I remember how I handled them when I was 25, and I know how I handle them now, and they're totally different. So it comes with time, but having somebody in your ear let you know you're not going to always get your way, and you have to know how to come correct, and you have to. I believe in kicking in the door. I went, as you read my resume, I went back and got a second master's degree. And some people asked me, well, why are you getting a second master's degree? I said, because I got to kick in the door. And I got to eliminate all the excuses that anybody's going to have as to why they aren't going to hire me. And we have to continue to give ourselves a competitive advantage because we still are labeled. So we have to make sure we do everything we can and have that courage.
And I'm coming at this from a little bit of a different angle because I'm a lot younger than a lot of people here, and I'm the youngest in our newsroom. And for me, that's another obstacle because I walk in and instantly my credibility is down because it's like, this is what this kid's walking in here. And one of the biggest things one of my mentors told me was, you got to play the game to change the game. So you come in and you talk about compromise, and you walk in and you have to be humble. You have to be willing to listen to what other people are telling you. Be willing to take in perspective, learn what they're bringing to the table, so that you do what they ask. You trust them. You build trust amongst each other to the point where you can get to a day where I walk in and I say, like just a few days ago, I walked in and said, I'm not doing that story. I'm doing this one, and here's why. And I'm able to do that at my age for the short time I've been here because when they needed me to do something, I was there. I was there for them. So then when I needed them, they were there for me. And as a young guy, it helped out a lot. So for all you young guys, just be willing to take some of your licks so that you can do what you got to do.
I'll speak from a slightly different perspective because I've always worked in print journalism. I've worked in newspapers for many, many years, and now I'm working on a digital site. So we have a lot more autonomy. I don't necessarily have to go to a pitch meeting. I write a little note to my boss or have a phone conversation and say, I want to work on story X. And a lot of times what you sort of have to push through is their enthusiasm or lack of enthusiasm for your story. Often when I was at the Washington Post, they'll say, yeah, okay. And you can sense that they don't think it's a good story, but I've been around long enough to allow me to do it. And that's where the courage comes in. You just sort of push ahead, but you have to know what you're doing. And my thing is, like, you want to bring complexity to stories. Just one example, like after Freddie Gray's death in Baltimore, you had the uprising. People were writing things about Sandtown, about West Baltimore. And I've lived there a long time. When I moved to Baltimore, I moved to Reservoir Hill, and I remember every day to play ball with Jewett O.Y., after work. And I knew a lot of guys in the neighborhood. Now that's years ago now. But I'm thinking, like, this characterization of this community is not accurate. There's a lot going on. Yeah, there are a lot of drugs. There's a lot of crime. There's also a lot of other things. I went in and out of that gym for, 15 years, almost every day, and never even saw a fight. You're playing ball and people get heated and stuff, but it was never, that kind of thing. Everybody's respectful, and you want to. So I talked about an essay about what's going on in Baltimore, essentially, and bringing perspective to, kind of to what people are seeing on their television screens. Writing about my own son being stopped by police, but also, police sometimes being fine. So it's a complicated situation. I think you have to have the courage to sort of trust your own experience, trust your lived experience. And it's not just that, and then move beyond that too. There's certain things you know for yourself, and you want to sort of reflect that, I think, in your journalism, even if your bosses don't necessarily share that enthusiasm.
I want to say that you need to be a chameleon. Everybody know what a chameleon is?
Yes.
A lizard that changes color when it's on a plant, and then it goes to another bush and it's got a different color. You have to be able to seamlessly work in multiple environments. In my career, I've been able to do that. It's funny, when I worked at 92Q, people saw me, this is a few years ago, throwback jerseys, hat to the back, but then I'd go to an event looking like Andre, dressed to the nines. Because you have to understand what moment you're in, wherever you are. And that goes along with all of the other things that we've been talking about when you defend the decisions that you make about stories, and when you have the opportunity to make decisions on what you want to cover if you're a journalist. That's part of it. You have to understand the people that you're making your pitch to. You have to know what they talk about and understand what their perspective is. In my newsroom, a bunch of people like the Beatles and 80s pop music. I grew up in the MTV era, so I know what they're talking about. And if they try to say that Neil Diamond is better than Beyonce, well, we're going to have a conversation about it. But you have to, knowing more about other people that don't look like you, along with all that you know about us, how can that not benefit you? The more you know, and you see, it really does help you in the long run as you expand and you grow and you understand the world that you live in is much bigger than the city of Baltimore. You have to broaden your horizons. You have to understand much more than the block or the street that you grew up in.